is to give 10 minutes plus over to you to make your points. And to do that, to do it succinctly, I'm going to ask each person to just make a comment or a contribution for 1 minute. Make it succinct. And what I'd like you to do, first of all, is do a show of hands now, and we'll take the first 5. So, Mo, will you take over now? Show of hands if you think you're going to want to make a comment or a question. And we'll just get the ball rolling. Oh, we've only got men. Oh no, we've got one woman. Very few women with their hands up so far.
Another one.
Okay. Okay, well, can you allocate?
Okay, we go 1 and 2, the gentleman there, 3, 4 and 5.
Thank you. So 1 minute each. Number 1, please. Just say who you are, just your name, and then your point.
Sorry, are we just talking to the councillors now or to everybody?
No, to everyone. It's what you believe. The question you were talking about before. What do you think we need to do now to make this good society, to build a progressive alliance? I'm sorry if that wasn't clear. Whatever, no. Absolutely. Your comments now on all you've heard this evening, really, and your own thoughts.
Sure.
Or stand up at the
I
end.
think probably stand up and speak, because if we get the mic, it's not even functioning awfully.
Okay, yeah. Well, let's to go first. Well, I just want to thank everybody who's spoken so far tonight, because I think of what it's revealed about the sort of the circumstances and the issues that led up to the vote coming as such a surprise to a lot of people when it wouldn't have been a surprise at all. And I suppose where I want to come back to is a lot of what John and Lisa were saying at the beginning, really, which is about the kind of the willful negligence and the willful ignorance of a political class and a media kind of colluding with each other, essentially, to actively ignore most of the country and the experiences of most people living in the country.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to stop you there, because that's willful negligence. Strong point to kick us off. Right, number 2, please.
Tom Crone made the point about proportional representation kind of underpinning like unfairness in society and how we need a fairer voting system in the UK. Kind of, it really is at the heart of wanting to make things fair and having less inequality in society. Caroline Lucas wrote a very sort of impassioned open letter to members of other parties about having a proportional representation system, and it doesn't appear to have been much progress. And I was just sort of wondering if anyone knew, if anyone was privy to any information that's come from that, whether Lib Dems and Labour and Plaid, I think it was just those parties, whether they're actually acting upon that sort of advice and that plea for a proportional representation system.
Thank you very much. Number 3, please.
It's me. I'm trying to formulate what I want to say. I want to say so many things. One is that I think a lot of us are here because we don't like sectarianism, and I don't like sectarianism. But one of the ways we might be being sectarian as well in this room is I support Jeremy Corbyn, and I just ask you all that if that makes you feel, oh, God, what's wrong with her? That is sectarianism in another form. I'm not in momentum, but what I know is something wonderful has been released recently. Young people. Now, our room, this is a great room, but go to the last meeting I went to with the Labour Party, there were so many young people and so many people that I had never seen. I thought it was going to be all the old sort of militant folk coming out, who I would recognise because I was around that time too. I wasn't in the militant tendency then either. But I don't want us to be scared of socialist, actual socialist policies, and I'm worried that sometimes broad alliances can be so broad that they won't say anything. I remember when I watched Jeremy Corbyn in the first leadership challenge and the campaign, I didn't understand what Yvette Cooper or any of the others were saying because they were being so cautious that they said nothing. So part of my worry is that we won't have the passion because we won't be clear enough about what are the policies that we want to support. So let's have a good think about that, because that might be the key round. In the next round, it will be different, because if he gets in this time, to turn you back on that, you will split the Labour Party. The centre-left will split the party if it doesn't stick with him. You've got to argue. I know there's lots of things wrong with him. I am not someone who deifies individuals. I can see all kinds of problems there. But please don't do it, because you will split the Labour Party in doing that.
I'm going to...
I'm sorry.
The point behind what she was saying, Shirley, was that alliances can be weak. And if we're not clear about what we want from an alliance, if we're not clear and positive about that, we've certainly got to make sure we are. Number 4, please.
My name is David Brooks. I'm a political education coordinator with my comrade Val for the Labour Party Momentum movement. I'm flabbergasted that Momentum were not invited to be on this platform. I'm currently not part of Progressive Alliance. You can't have a Progressive Alliance in this country without the majority support from the Labour Party, of which the majority of the Labour Party support Corbett. Therefore, you're on a hiding to nothing. And I heard a lot of vague stuff, very vague stuff, nothing concrete, like, for instance, how do we take on these neoliberal mass ranks of finance capital, which originates, which has its centre in the City of London? How do we take them out? How do we take them out of the equation? It's worth thinking about that. You won't have a progressive country unless you do things like that. Also, you had no mention of nuclear weapons, though I know most people here are probably opposed to nuclear weapons. Nevertheless, we have to put that on. On whether we're going to stay in NATO, another interesting question, which has to be answered. Right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Many parties could have been on this platform already. We've overloaded the platform in one way. But number 5, please. Oh, number 5.
Yes, gentleman in the front.
It was you and number 5. We'll take you next. Yeah.
Jonathan Clatworthy, point about education really. We need proportional representation. We need to agree much more equality and human rights for everybody. But I also think we need, if we're to have a progressive alliance, a commitment to better political education. Everybody was appalled at the EU how little good information was available. And if we look back to last May's general election, it was true then as well. Some people have a lot of money to spend providing propaganda, providing one side of the argument. The BBC struggles now to be unbiased because all the other media outlets are owned by a very small handful of billionaires, and they can say whatever they like. So that puts the BBC in a very difficult situation, and they're justified complaining about them being biased. So I think addressing that will be an important part of the progressive alliance.
Thank you. Thanks all for being so brief. Now, another 5 hands up, please.
You did say the gentleman there, so 1, down the front here, 2, and 3, yes, and 4, and 5.
Just as brief if you would, please. Thank you.
Really practical point. Couldn't we stop MPs from also serving as government ministers and running government departments at the same time? Because I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but then you get £70,000 for being an MP, which means representing your constituents in Parliament, and then you get extra money on top of that if you go and work for a government as well, and then you end up running a government department, and you can't really do the job of representing your constituents. So couldn't you have like a second round of elections, as well as a general election where we vote for government ministers independently of MPs? Because one of the big problems of getting a small party candidate or an independent candidate elected at a general election is you're asked the question of how can you go on and form a government. So we should separate these two functions of the legislative function of the Parliament and the executive function of the government. We should separate them and have 2 separate elections.
Thank you. Maybe one of the politicians can answer that one. 6. Number 6. Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to make 2 points. I think that there's one about young people, which we were touched on earlier on, about the importance of engaging young people in these processes. I I thought it was a breath of fresh air to have the community panel up there and to be able to listen to people from the community, and which leads me on to the next point. I come to a lot of these meetings, and when I come to a lot of these meetings, I do see a lot of the same faces, but I also see a lot of faces that are representatives from the communities, such as the one that I'm from. And I think a lot of that sometimes is down to the fact that communities don't feel that they're represented in these meetings. So I think one of the things we talked about in our week before is the importance of us going out to these communities and not just having centralised meetings, about going to like Kensington, to Oxford, to Norris Green, and about sort of not just expecting people to come to us about us going out there and going to them. I think then we'll have more representation. People will feel like the politics that we're talking about is more relevant to their lives, because as Richard said earlier, when you talk to someone in the pub about something and you use a lot of jargon, if you talk to a young person about something, but you'll talk to them about the youth club that's going to get shut down, then they'll be right there and they'll be up and they'll be talking about it with fire in their bellies, and they'll be strong about it. And I think we need to really change the way that we interact, because you know a lot of these kids, right, we can use these words, but this enchantment and disillusion with politics is because it doesn't seem to relate to us anymore, and I can see that perfectly. I wasn't really involved in politics, watched it for years, but never really got involved until the last couple of years when the Conservatives won the last election, and then for me it was like, well, that's it, I need to get involved, I need to do something to make a change. And on the back of that, try to get people from my community involved as well. Yeah. And there's lots of people like that, so I think we need to sort of capitalise on it and go out there.
Thank you. Get out there into the communities. What a new point. Number 7? Yes? 7. Am I? Yeah.
You're on 8 now.
Am I on 8? I lost count. Okay, who was it? Yeah? What? Okay.
Yeah, like Dave, I find it extraordinary that there was no formal representation from Menton invited to this occasion. And I found the discussion that doesn't touch on the issues of neoliberalism, the impact of neoliberalism, the endurance of it, how can you have any kind of politics that doesn't do that? I mean, not least, with regard to the economic issues. Second thing, I'm looking for politics that acknowledges the connections between environmental and social justice issues and feminist values, right? And I'd just like to read you a statement from an interview given in Labour List in 2014.
If it will fit into a minute.
It's relevant. When Labour works, it does brilliant, interesting things, important things, it's because it's rooted in communities and real-life experiences. Thank you, Lisa. That was Lisa being interviewed, right? We had a march in Liverpool city centre for about 4,000 people through the city centre a couple of weeks ago. We had a meeting at Liner, 600 or 700 people last week. Jeremy had a meeting in Salford on Saturday. Lowry full, 2,000 people. This is momentous because the diversity in those gatherings of age and background and everything. People saying to me, I've been a single mother all my life, I've never been interested in politics. This is different. A guy 30, 40, standing in one of the rallies, talking to another guy next to him, don't know whether they knew each other, and he's saying, I've never voted in the whole of my life. 30 to 40-year-old working class guy. But this is different.
Thank you.
Different.
Thank you. No, good points, but I'm going to cut you because everybody's got a minute. But yeah. Important points. Number 9.
Was it me? I think I was number 3 or 1. I feel there has been this total lack of trust in politicians. So people buy a bus saying, all this to the NHS. I came into politics after retirement as a physics teacher because of the NHS. No one in the Labour Party, nor the Tories, nor I think maybe the Greens might be, were warning us about the piecemeal privatisation of the NHS. No one was talking about TTIP. And in fact, it was only Jeremy Corbett, I think, was one of the few people that mentioned TTIP. And in him I trust, not as a god, but as someone that I can trust with MacDonald by his side. I think they could actually save the NHS, and if they could do that, they could do some other things too. And I'm heartbroken that the Labour Party is, people, I heard Lisa speak before, and I thought, yeah, this woman isn't just talking platitudes, she cares. And
I'm going to stop you there, just got time. NHS.
I want to speak on behalf of young people. We're angry. Give us, I'm 18 years old, 17 years old at the time of the election. I couldn't vote. MPs, give us the vote. And if we're not educated, educators, introduce it. And Jake, how old are you, lad? What is he? 23. Yeah, I'm about 12 years old. I'm trying to say, I couldn't vote. I'm educated. Then you get 60-year-old people. I can vote, but I'm not educated. So let's have a bit of equality. Let's have a bit of this. I want to say on behalf of the young people at the Yellow House in Liverpool, and probably the young people in the world, give us the vote. Come on.
Was there one last one? Right, I'm going to count to 5, not because I can't get beyond 10, okay? Okay, we've got 1 here, 2, 3,
We'll stop at 3.
and 4. Would that be all right?
We'll stop
Okay.
there then because of time. Okay, so very briefly, number
Very
1.
briefly, yes, right, very briefly. This country's never had a revolution, but one is starting now. We've got to get away from adversarial politics, and I welcome your, Richard Kemp, is it? Your willingness to work with Joe Anderson. That's the kind of thing we should do, work together. Lee's had talked about respect. That is at the heart. We're no longer massed in uniform and big battalions. We are fragmented. We have different starting places and different particular interests. But we're all capable of working together, respecting each other. PR is the way forward. It's the only way forward. And the Compass should take the initiative, following Caroline Lucas, to bang some heads together again.
We tried to do rather than bang heads together. Bring heads together. And hearts. Right, number 2, please.
I vote Green. I'm not a member. I'm really happy to work with anyone from Momentum who supports Owen Smith, who's a Liberal Democrat, anyone on the progressive left, yeah, so that's why I'm here. But there's one thing that I think the progressive left in the broader sense we've got to get is not getting right at all. And this is just a very quick quote from Rachel Reeves before the last general election. She talks about the Labour Party as, we are not a party of people on benefits. We don't want to be seen, and we're not the party to represent those who are out of work. Labour are a party of working people, formed for and by working people. Now, Lisa, yourself at the end, you said we want to represent working people. Now, I think all parties have been good at this, and not just in the Labour Party out. The ESA claimants and the JSA claimants, a lot of them voted to leave, I think. I'm at the bottom of the barrel. I'm affected by the bedroom tax. Me and my mates, we voted to stay, and we're passionate about it. But I think something of what John was saying about the voice of the unheard out there, I think we need to, make sure we will represent people on benefits.
Absolutely. So much wider than just the working people. Well done, yes. Number 3, please. Number 3?
Is it me?
I think so.
Yes. Right. Yes, I absolutely agree on PR. I support that. I think the one thing that has only emerged in the comments and wasn't there on the platform, which is a shame, was a narrative as a context for where we are now. So I want to just give my older person's view. I think I've spent a lot of my life challenging things, rethinking things, but I didn't spend my earliest years doing it as I do now. And now I look back at growing up in the 50s, 60s, and I think there was democracy as I grew up, government, parliament, it was perfect, it was everything. It wasn't challenged. Now I can see that if I think back, look back from that, 20 years, 30 years, there were only aristocratic people in parliament. It wasn't long. It wasn't long since everybody got a vote. There weren't many working people in parliament. And then they did come into Parliament and they got changed. Parliament didn't change. The system didn't change. The Privy Council didn't stop being there. The elite didn't stop wanting to make their money for themselves. And that is the counter-revolution that has happened since the 70s, and particularly now, and that we're feeling the effects of. And unless we have that narrative, we won't understand what it is we're up against. And we'll fail. That is my view.
Thank you so much.
I'm really passionate about Progressive Alliance, but I just wonder how we're going to work together at a general election and prevent tribalism, ego, conflict, election of leaders. You know, because we're human beings and we all fall out, sadly. So in the practical, we're going to vote tactically, we're going to urge our followers to vote tactically to get the best candidate in Parliament. How's it going to work?
Thank you for that. Right. So, one of the things on your chairs is the feedback form. It's only got a couple of questions on it, but one of them is you might have other ideas that you didn't put in now, and that you want us to consider. Please use that form to add your idea about what we need to do now to work together in Liverpool, nationally, internationally. Thank you for that. Now, what I'm going to do is ask those who've been on the panel to